Who's wrong and who's wronger? In this corner, followed by millions, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And in that corner, ignored by millions, Steve Shrinko Levers.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wrong and Wronger. This is the Handsome, and I have data to prove it. Dr. Steve with his sidekick way over there in the corner, because that's where we got to keep him, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And no proof that James is handsome, by the way, but I digress. James, how you doing today?
I am legitimately perplexed. Who was misguided enough to say you were handsome? Did you give a talk at the School for the Blind? Like, what's going on here?
I have a few notes that I jotted down from the comment section on YouTube, Breakwell.
I don't like where this is going.
And I'll just highlight two of them and then mention Exploding Possum 54 said I need to grow my beard back because I have a baby face. But that one notwithstanding, Shadowan BJ, I don't have any idea what that means. I figure that's for you Star Trek, Star Wars. It's all the same damn thing, people. But they wrote, he or she, I'm not sure if Shadowan BJ is a boy or a girl. I don't imagine a girl would make that her handle, but he said that we need to reshoot the beginning, the opening sequence, because, and I quote, Steve is thinner and more handsome, and James is, well, he's James.
What does that mean?
I can't say it any better myself. That's right.
Wow.
And then the second one I jotted down is from Ingamo Gillette 5166. I love these names, James. Who wrote, my diagnosis? Talking to me, you have a case of handsome. What do you think of that, Breakwell?
I think it is fatal. It's going to go straight to your brain and kill you. As for the old intro, I will concede that you look different in the current intro. I was going to say old intro, but we have not replaced it. But that doesn't mean better or worse. It just means equally bad. I mean, you have been consistent in exploring different forms of ugly, but always have you maintained your current level of unattractiveness.
You are probably alone in that opinion. And fans have spoken. Fans that I don't even know who they are. Like, they're crawling out of the woodwork, James. We might be up to like 6 or 7 now. And I don't know what we're going to do with that great influx, but I think we got to bring our A game from now on.
I think you're getting the pity compliments. People still feel bad for you and your weak heart. They feel good that you pulled through, and they want to keep you here because they know that telling you the truth would just, it would be too much for you to handle in your current state. Rattlesnake battles notwithstanding, because fighting a venomous reptile is one thing, but handling criticism on the internet, that is a whole different kind of cardiac stress.
Well, I handled this with as much grace and dignity as possible, and all I can say is, in your face, Breakwell.
You did receive 2 more compliments than me, but in my defense, I don't read any of the comments. So for all I know, all the other compliments were talking about how great I am, both physically, mentally, spiritually, just all of it. And if they throw you a few crumbs, I guess that's okay. I can't win them all.
Oh, don't fool yourself into thinking there were any other compliments embedded in those comments, James. I don't think our fans work that way.
I am an eternal optimist, and I only don't read the comments because I assume they're full of effusive praise, and I would not be able to function among mere mortals if I understood how great people really think I am. So that's what I go on, and as long as I never, ever read any comments, no one can prove otherwise.
Huh. I had no idea how handsome I was until I read the comments. So I will continue to visit YouTube and see what people have to say.
Man, you are fishing hard for those extra compliments. What's going to happen when one person on there, one single person tells you you're ugly?
Well, first of all, that obviously can't happen because we don't have enough people to generate a data set that big. Like, if 2 people said I'm handsome, that's like 80% of our entire listenership. And I know Judy P. thinks I'm quite strikingly attractive herself. So I don't know what else you're going to do, James. You're going to have to scrape up a few more listeners out of that vast following you have.
This does intersect nicely with discourse that pops up on the internet from time to time. It's how women, or some women, I guess you can't say anything about every human being on the face of the earth, but many women resent compliments from men. They don't think they mean them, or they get them all the time, and they don't really mean anything. Whereas for guys, like, you get one compliment ever about anything, and that just sticks with you for the rest of your life because it is so rare. Like, when I worked at the newspaper, I was the night shift. At the end of the night, we had to watch the 11 o'clock news to make sure we didn't miss anything. And we were watching it, and one time my editor said, you could have been on TV news. You look normal enough. And that was the best compliment I've ever had for my looks. I look normal enough for TV. So I've been riding that high for, 15 years now? Man, compliments do not come often, but when you get one and you're a guy, you got to hold on to it forever.
I'm actually going to make these 2 into a business card and hand them out at conventions, just to let everyone know, in case you were on the fence, I really am handsome.
Yeah, it's like I have a shirt one time, and my wife said, your arms look really big in that shirt, so now I just wear that shirt constantly. It never comes off, but her implication was that the shirt had shrank. Like, that's always her assumption with my wardrobe. It's never, she means it more in the sense that your clothes are ill-fitting, get bigger clothes, not you have physically gotten bigger from going to the gym and eating right. And that's okay. That is certainly one theory. I choose not to believe it, but I also choose to wear that shirt. So we'll see.
Wow. Are you wearing that shirt right now?
I am not. It is long sleeve,
okay,
and
good.
I would die. I cannot survive these kind of summer temperatures with sleeves, Steve. That's too much.
I thought I was going to have to conjure up a really good lie, but now I'm okay. So your arms look normal, like they always do, and
yes.
I've seen arms like that before because I did fight a rattlesnake, and not a very large one last week.
Yeah, T-Rex, rattlesnake, that's an accurate portrayal of my arms. That's why this podcast, the video, is just from, like, the chest up. Because as long as I keep my arms at my side, you never see them. You never know what's down there. Just assume they're huge, like Hulk Hogan size. Much like I assume that all the comments are compliments. So really we are a podcast of positive assumptions. That's what we are.
We need to run a poll of who's the most handsome.
Ooh, you know what? Here's the problem. My fans, or the fans I used to have, they like me for my jokes. Your fans like you for you. Like, you are beloved among a much smaller subset, but, like, as an actual human being. And I am not a human being. I am a caricature of a person. I am the guy of what have you done for me lately? Like, I produce content for them. And you just are. You are a minor celebrity among your crowd, and I can't compete with that.
My crowd has been carefully curated based on how good their insults are to me. I like goods. That's why I used to like this podcast so much before we jumped the shark, like episode 7. But your insults come from an intellectual place, and I always appreciate that. So while my fans may like me for me, what they love even more is making sure to put me in my place. And so I don't know how a poll like that would go, other than to actually give it a shot.
I will not be doing that. My self-esteem cannot afford to be steamrolled like that. That is not the kind of thing you recover from, like, ever, in any circumstance. Also, there's a chance that people would vote ironically and then, mess it all up. Obviously, one of us is far uglier than the other, so they give the ugly one all the votes, and then you win. You feel good about yourself.
What?
And it's gonna be like Carrie winning the votes at prom to be prom queen, just so people can dump pig's blood on her. And for the safety of everyone, I don't want you to go through that, because I don't want you to burn down the gymnasium around us.
Boy, if I only had that power with my mind, so much of the world would be on fire right now, Breakwell. But I am kinder and gentler since the whole incident. And let me wrap around to something I had jotted down to bring up last week and do it. But I had an old Wrong and Wronger-esque poll that I ran just because it occurred to me, and we weren't recording the Wrong and Wrongers at the time, but I thought I'll bring this up whenever we have to again because Breakwell begs me to. And it was, when you brush your teeth, do you brush your tongue? And got a couple hundred responses to it, but let me ask you first, what say you, James Breakwell, and then I'll tell you the results.
Well, of course you have to brush your tongue. If you only brush your teeth, the job is half done. Your breath is still going to stink, and then you will have no friends, which explains why all of your fans are online and not in real life.
And I do pee in the shower. Proudly, I may add. Do you brush your gums and the roof of your mouth as well?
I brush my gums. I do not brush the roof of my mouth. I have never heard of that.
Well, I only asked about the tongue, and it surprised me because 30% of the people, so I think I had 192, let's just call it 200 votes. So that would mean 60 people said no, they do not, which surprises me because of exactly what you just said. Like, you've got that bacteria factory right there in the middle of your mouth. So anyway, I thought that would have been a good coin flip, the Guam Quarter of Fate coin flip debate to have, and then put it up to vote from the people. But that one just occurred to me, and I thought you may be interested in the results.
I am disgusted by the results, but I am not surprised. After my own battles with my children to get them to brush their teeth adequately, we've actually upgraded them all to electric toothbrushes with 2-minute timers to make sure they brush for more than a second and a half. So, and then there's the novelty, it jiggles, so they actually stick with it. So hopefully that will keep all their teeth from falling out, especially since I'm going to have to spend, I think, between $4,000 and $4,500 per kid for braces. Like, it is substantial. When you add all the kids together, it would be the price of a car, not the nicest car on the market, but yeah, inside of their mouths, those tiny strips of metal will add up to the price of a car.
Does dental insurance cover that?
No, and that's, I listened to a whole podcast, a real podcast with actual information about dental insurance. It's really not a insurance per se, like you pay in and then if something catastrophically goes wrong, it pays out, because everybody has teeth. Everybody's teeth need cleaning. What it really is it's like a prepaid teeth gift card. Like, you are going to get these services, so you pay up front, we give you a discount rate, and that's kind of, so because we have dental insurance, I think they knock off $500 or $1,000 altogether, and that 4,000-ish figure, I think, is all in after that. And they don't, and how our orthodontist does it is you pay a flat rate. You can pay, if you pay it all at once up front, they give you a discount, but then you just pay that rate and that's it. No matter if it takes them 8 months or if it takes them 5 years to straighten your teeth, it just covers everything. It's one flat rate and you're done, except for, the 9,000 visits after that. So that is what we are in. I've got one kid out of braces, one kid in braces, and another kid who will probably go into braces in the fall.
Wow. And
Yeah.
boy, when you pay regardless of how much work gets done, I'm guessing that creates a bit of a conflict of interest for the dentist, because wouldn't he or she be more motivated to do less work because that increases their hourly rate?
I suppose, but it's one of those things, your teeth are either straight or they're not. So if they send your kid home with crooked teeth, it's like, well, clearly the job is not done. So I think it's a pretty easy checks and balances thing. It's not like a surgery where you're like, well, did you really take it out? I mean, you can't go in there and check. You got to take the surgeon's word for it. Everybody can see your teeth. So I am confident that when he says their teeth are straight, I can look at the teeth and judge reasonably well if they are straight or not.
Boy, this reminds me of like how lawyers charge with a retainer. That I've needed a lawyer, I think, twice in my life. And both times I paid the retainer, and magically, when I decided I no longer need your law services, they sent me an itemized bill that equaled exactly what the retainer was. So they just spent that retainer, even though I didn't think I used them for as much as I thought I was going to when we agreed upon the retainer. But it just seems a little shifty when you pay something like a big chunk up front like that.
You know, it's kind of like car insurance. Repairs always cost exactly what insurance will cover. No more, no less. There was a time I knew somebody, and we both hit deer within a few weeks of each other.
Yeah.
And she hit her deer at like 30 miles an hour, and I hit my deer at 70 miles an hour. And our repair bills were almost identical, and I don't know how that is humanly possible. It's just, I think there was an amount this particular insurance provider paid out, and that is what the damages added up to, remarkably.
Wow. I had no idea. I don't know how I suppose if you work for a company, you can sort of distance yourself from it emotionally. But if you're a dentist or if you're a lawyer, like, how do you sleep at night knowing that you're going to adjust how much you work based upon how much money? In other words, if you pay me 10 grand up front as a retainer, I will work for 4 hours, but magically conjure up another however many it takes till we hit that 10 grand, because I'll be damned if I'm going to give you any of that money back. Like, I just don't know how people sleep at night doing stuff like that. I was just hired to do a writing project from someone, and we agreed upon the price. And he said, how do you want it paid out? And I said, 25% up front, 25% when I give you the rough draft, and 50% when the project is done and you're satisfied with the revisions. To me, that feels fair. Like, that way, he's got product in hand and he knows what he's paying for. It just feels like a more balanced transaction that way than if he gives me 100% up front and I can give him a crappy product, and if he starts squawking about it, I can always ghost him or whatever. Like, I just hate when people put others in a situation like that with a service, not a product.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of having customers in the first place. That's why the best financial plan is to become a reclusive billionaire. Just win the lottery and disappear, and you'll never disappoint anyone. That is by far the best policy. As far as how do people sleep, I think they sleep quite well, because fun fact, everybody's the good guy in their own story. And I'm sure that anybody who ever charges anything justifies exactly why it costs whatever it costs. I mean, do you feel like any money you've been paid, you're like, boy, I sure don't deserve this. I'm gonna give it back. I think people are like, oh yeah, I totally deserve this. I am worth this. Maybe not literally for this thing, but the way life balances out, you go a little ahead sometimes, a little behind sometimes. I think we all just say, hey, we are worth it. Or maybe that's just those of us with positive self-esteem.
I have two thoughts to that. One
Yeah.
is, you can't tell me that every contractor you've ever dealt with was the good guy in his own story.
Oh,
that
they
doesn't
were.
make any sense. Oh, I doubt it. They knew they were shysters, and yet they did it anyway because they have no morals. And then second, I have one time in my practice met with someone for the entirety of the intake and then said, I can't help you. And they had paid me with a check up front, and I shredded the check. I said, I'm not going to take your money for this session because I'm not willing to take you as a patient.
What? Oh, okay. I need details. Now, I know you've got client-patient confidentiality and all of that, but I mean, I'm assuming this is a while ago. You can keep it vague, but like, how messed up do you have to be that like psychology is powerless to help you?
This was probably 15 years ago, because I think my daughter's 27 right now, and I think let's just say she was 12. Mm-hmm. So when he came in, the issue was he had been arrested for molesting a girl who was exactly my daughter's age. And
Yeah.
I just kind of sat
Okay.
there through the intake thinking, am I able to do this? And I went back and forth a little, and finally I thought, nah, I'm not going to be able to get past this. So I didn't feel right taking his money for that consultation, even though I'm not sure what we accomplished in it other than me saying, you'll have to shop someplace else. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll commend you for ending things that politely. I'm sure there are many others who would not have. That is a decidedly unfunny situation. I was hoping for something much lighter, but I don't know. I opened a box of somebody beyond help. I don't know what I expected. I don't think many steps ahead, which is why this podcast has the format that it has.
I don't think he was beyond help. I just think I wasn't going to be able to give it to him because I couldn't be objective in that situation, which is fine. Given how long I've done this, I'm unshockable, and almost 100% of everything that's come through the door, I've thought, I'll give it a shot. I can kind of see where people are the good guys in their story. I don't know that I've seen a contractor ever, because they have no soul and therefore wouldn't seek therapy in the first place. But I don't know. I guess once in a while something comes up and you're not out of your depth. You're just in a conflict of morals.
Why do you think it is that contractors are the way they are? It seems to be the universal human experience, but there's no other profession that treats you that way. Like for anything else, you order a product. If you order a product on Amazon, and if they told you, well, it may show up or it may not show up, like Amazon's going to go out of business like anything else. But contractors, people who actually build things, it's like, yeah, I'll be there maybe, or maybe not. Maybe I'll start, maybe I won't finish, and then they get recommendations anyway because there's nobody else out there doing that. How do they get away with it when any other business would just be out of business immediately if they treated customers like that?
Because you and I don't go for like the big builder companies that are licensed and bonded and insured and all that stuff, because they charge for all that. We go with people that might have dropped out of middle school if that were legal back then, but they had to fight their way through a couple years of high school and just sit through detention all day until finally they could drop out and then become a contractor. And they didn't go to trade school, and they don't do anything plumb or square. They just happen to have contractor in the Facebook Marketplace ad. And so people think, well, Angie's List has a 0 rating for them because nobody's seen them yet, probably because they change their name or the name of their company every time they decide to ghost somebody on the job. And they're people that just live unscrupulously, and they try to bilk whoever they can. And if they do actually do something, and we hired someone like this, what they do is so atrociously awful, you have to hire someone else to redo it anyway. And I think you have a story like that too. So, I don't know. I think people they don't, when they're 12, dream of being a contractor someday. They dream of being astronauts or pro baseball players. And then when things don't work out and they're on their third divorce by the time they're 27, they think, well, I own a hammer. What more do I need? I'll be a contractor. And I'll get people to pay me up front, and then I'll drink all of that like a Natty Light 12 packs. And when that money's gone, I'll just move on to the next person.
You know, I saw a theory on Twitter about this. Twitter has decided that I want to see entrepreneurs. That's what it's decided. It's get rich quick Twitter. They always have this scheme for how you're going to make your millions and build up your business empire. And every once in a while they leak personal details. And I don't think these people are doing all that well, or they wouldn't be on Twitter all day. Exhibit A is me. But they, he was in flipping houses or renting houses or something. And his theory was that the good contractors become successful and build bigger businesses, and then you can't afford them anymore. Because the successful, the successful ones, they're out there, they're building, they're building high rises. They're not building pantries. Like if you stop at the pantry level, you have really shown your capabilities. And also, I think even if you do get up to the level where you build houses or you build subdivisions, if you're that guy, like if you're good, you're no longer doing that. You're good enough to stop doing that, and then you're still hiring the guys who dropped out of middle school. Because anybody who can do it for themselves, they go into business, they hire employees. I think it's always going to be staffed by the unreliable people at the bottom. Like, man, it is amazing how much truck trouble these contractors have, just universally. Like in my entire life, I've never once called in anywhere and said, sorry, I can't come, my car won't start. But contractors, it's like every other day. They have the most, and these are like handy guys too, and they somehow have the most unreliable vehicles in the world that they cannot figure out how to fix. It is remarkable. And also, when I've had a couple times I broke down, I just had somebody else come up and give me a ride. Like we're a 2-vehicle family. Like there's never been a situation where I can't get somewhere. But yeah, that contractor who was 3 blocks from my house, I found out later, he could not get here. It was physically impossible, and he never did finish that job. The wallpaper remains in my business, or not in my business, in my basement, in a box, and will never ever be on my walls.
Why don't you just put the wallpaper up on a Saturday?
It's why I paid people to do it. It is a marriage ender. It requires technical knowledge and skill. Like, my wife won't even let her dad do it. You know, he does all this stuff for us for free, and she won't let him do that one because it's technical work, and it's not going to be just right, and then she'll be unhappy. But also, it's in this room I'm in now, and if you look around, I mean, you can see behind me the cabinets and the mirror. There is no stretch of this room where you could actually put up a whole sheet of wallpaper. Like almost every inch of it, you have to cut around doorways with trim. You have to cut around windows. You have to cut around a staircase. You have to cut around cabinets. You have to cut around a mirror. It is a nightmare. And I think we'd be better off if I took down the wallpaper and then we just hired a plaster guy to put like textured plaster up like we have upstairs. I think that'd be the ideal situation. But then we just take the loss on the $1,500 worth of wallpaper in the basement. But you know what? We paid for it long enough ago. The sting is kind of easing off. We'll just forget we did that. We'll bury our shame, and we'll just move on with our lives.
Speaking of burying shame, we have to end this podcast. And if you want to cut around the not handsome guy, you're going to have to cut Breakwell out when you watch this back on YouTube. But until we meet again, until we find out through the magic of a Twitter poll who is the most handsome, I will have results next week. Look for me on Twitter if you'd like to vote. I'll put it up. I'll do it. We're recording this on Monday. You're not going to see this till Wednesday. I'll put it up on Thursday afternoon, and we will find out who it is. But until then, until we meet again and you get the results of the handsome poll, this is Steve, happy baby face, so leave us. For James hides his face behind all kinds of facial hair, Breakwell saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Try not to hire a contractor ever for anything ever again. And until we meet again, remember, 2 wrongs can make a right.